Hello and welcome to the Conscious Parenting Experience. My name is Anja Simmons and I'm a parenting success coach. And I've started this brief video series interviewing some amazing parents who are on this conscious parenting journey as a way for other parents to check in and find where they relate and what they can learn from or what speaks to them. And so today I feel very fortunate. I have the lovely Marie Tindall joining me. And just reading off your title is quite a mouthful, so it's amazing. She is an organizational leadership coach, a facilitator, a spiritual psychotherapist, and an author, and a mom of 3 children, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. So welcome. I would love if we can start with you sort of talking about your parenting journey before Marie was parent and as Marie became a parent, and sort of share from there. That'll be awesome.
Okay, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. So my parenting journey started when I was 18. I was almost 19 when I had my first child. So my children are older. They're 20, 16, and 14 at the moment. And it was a really rocky road to begin with. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, and I was parenting a lot like my parents had parented. And I guess my daughter was about 4 when I realized, my firstborn was about 4, when I realized that what I was doing wasn't really working for either one of us. I wasn't feeling very good as a parent, and I think there were many things that I was unconsciously doing that my parents had done that didn't feel right. So I began to really explore what it was I was doing and how I was doing it, and a little bit about my beliefs and that sort of thing. I just really kind of go into that. What really shifted things was a relationship weekend that I did when my oldest was, how old was she? She was about 7 or 8. Yeah, 7 or 8. And at the time, I was, I didn't know how to do relationship. I didn't know how to bond with my child properly. I was pretty much pushing her away at that time, thinking it was time for her to grow up, which of course, now thinking back, I'm like, oh dear, was that ever not okay? But
no
that's
shame, right? No shame with it. It's that learning process. We do what we know.
Exactly. We do what we know. And that's exactly what I was doing what I knew. So I took a relationship course, and that shifted a lot of things for me as a woman, especially, and embracing motherhood and embracing my who I truly was and who I truly wanted to be in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that's a big long journey in itself, right? Really discovering all of who you are and what it is you desire to be, not necessarily job, but like who you want to be, the traits and qualities you want to possess and like distribute and have others feel from you.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's a pretty incredible awakening.
it was a huge awakening, huge.
So do you think that you reached out for that course because you were consciously aware that things weren't working as they were?
I agree. Yeah. Not just for my parenting though. At the time I was with my husband, and that wasn't working very well either. I just didn't know how to do relationship, really was the thing. Long story there, but it was definitely generationally speaking. Like when I look back, it's like, okay, nobody knew how to do relationships, so I just wasn't taught.
Sure.
So really discovering that piece was awesome. It helped in my marriage also, but what it really gave me was an amazing relationship with my children.
That's beautiful. Well,
yeah.
It's really touching, because to me, that is so eye-opening, because you say it's not even just one generation ago. We're talking generationally, going
Yes.
back, that we just assume as parents that you're just gonna get it, right? You're
Right.
just going to be okay because that's how you were raised and that's how they were raised, etc., etc. And so it's wonderful that, you know, there was that realization that I can make a change, and the change starts with me, right?
Right.
You weren't
Exactly.
thinking, gosh, my children don't know how to relate to me, or what's wrong with these children not fulfilling my wishes?
Yes. No, I definitely wasn't looking at it that way. I
Yeah,
definitely was looking at what can I do to change this? I mean, they're little people, right? They come into this world all innocent and whatnot. It's us that have to be their guide and their mentor, right? So
absolutely. Absolutely. Lovely. Really cool. Now, as you started to make those shifts that you sort of were realizing, with your house feeling kind of chaotic and not in tune, when you
right.
start to make those shifts, did you notice a change with the children? Did you notice right away, or it took some time because it's a practice, right?
Yes, it took some time. Actually, when I was first making the changes, because of course I'm kind of a all or nothing.
Okay.
So I did a complete 180 on my children, which I don't know if anybody else has done that or not, but it becomes a little hectic, because then they're asking, okay, who the heck is this person?
That's right. Where's my
And
mom?
what's going on here? Right, exactly. So once that took probably a couple years to settle,
Mhm.
until they realized, oh, this is the mom that's sticking around. I kind of like this mom. Okay, this is working, right? So yeah, but it was, and after that point, it started to calm down.
Okay.
Um, as my journey continued, my daughter was when she went into high school, she was having a lot of difficulty handling things, coping, had anxiety, and which is very common for teenagers nowadays.
Absolutely.
They're just, it was just too much for her. So I gave her a choice. She could stay home and do her thing at home, or she could go to school, and she chose to stay home.
Mhm.
So about a year later, my other children were like, okay, they were struggling in school, not necessarily academically,
Right.
but just in a way, because I had started parenting them, I believe that I had started parenting them in a different way, and it was just difficult to relate sometimes to their peers, right?
Right. Right.
um so, and we were very spiritual as well. Spiritual came into all of this, because that's where I got a lot of the knowledge I needed to parent my children in a way that was successful and that worked for us.
Right.
um so I decided to allow my children to be homeschooled. Well, yeah, I decided to homeschool them.
Mm-hmm.
And about 6 months after that, my husband said, okay, I get it. I see why you're doing this.
Right. I was
Because
going
my
to ask,
house,
how did everybody respond to that? Because it's
yeah,
a big decision to go. I mean, nowadays it's lovely. There's a heck of a lot more homeschoolers who've chosen that.
yeah,
But at that time, right, that
yeah.
might have been sort of really in the minority.
It was. And also, due to my upbringing, my mother is very, very keen on education. So how are they going to learn if they don't go to school? Was a huge she still doesn't like it so much, but she's grown to accept it and understand that the children are learning. It's just a different way of
Yeah.
learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my mother-in-law, she decided that she didn't like it and was going to call CAS, child services, yes,
Right.
on me.
Wow.
So that was a little touch and go there, and I talked her out of it, thankfully. I said, just give it time. Let's see, let's watch. I said, have a conversation with your grandchildren and just see, because I understand that you're afraid, and I understand that
You had to
you want.
really root into your knowing,
Oh yes.
right? That really had to we have the mother bear instinct, but we also have the idea that from you getting conscious and really trusting that this is right for that person, and you didn't tell the children, I hate school, you're done with school, you're homeschooling. It was a joint decision. So that is a beautiful way to
absolutely
talk with them. That's, we're experiencing, we're checking, how it's going to go. So that was lovely. Well done for that. That mother-in-law, that's a hard one.
It was a difficult one. And of course, going through the whole, my own, am I good enough? Can I do this? How's it all going to work? All of those questions floating around in your mind. But I think when you really focus in on your knowing, and as you say, grounding into that, you just become a little more solid in what you're doing and knowing that that's the right choice. It might not be the right choice for everyone, and that's okay.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
For us as a family, it was most certainly the right choice. Most certainly.
Beautiful. That is awesome. Really awesome. So how did you, as the mother bear, how did you manage to have 3 children at home as teens and preteens and teens, and carve out time for you? Was that in there too, so that you could show up fully, or does that get lost in the, oh my gosh, we've got so many things going on?
Well, I guess in the beginning, parenting was difficult, and I really didn't know how to do self-care. So that was another huge piece I had to learn. My mother still has troubles with self-care. She gives a lot and forgets to fill up her own tank. So thankfully, I have a beautiful example of how not to do it.
Love it. That's right. Without the judgment, without whatever, you just kind of go,
yeah, no,
I don't want that. That is not going to work for me.
Exactly. So I just learned to, when they were situated in a space, it's like when your babies are small and they're sleeping. Well, I would sleep too when my babies were sleeping, because if I don't have enough sleep, there's no way I'm going to handle a crying child very well.
Yeah, you just have to put everything else in priority and know it's just a phase, right? We just go,
exactly.
Eventually I will get more sleep. Eventually life becomes the new norm, each new phase, right?
Exactly. And so self-care definitely became a big part of what I was doing. And I would have, as they grew older, it was easier because my oldest was old enough to watch them for an hour if I needed to go out. But we also spent a lot of time together outside in nature, which is very rejuvenating in itself, right? We spent time cooking. We spent time, so it was more of a together. So yes, I needed a break from that because we all need self-care, but that filled me up in a way that was good, because I wasn't doing it alone. I wasn't cooking alone. I wasn't right. So
actually, I hadn't kind of quite thought of it in that manner too, in that because you're all moving through this journey together with the homeschooling, it's not you and them, and you're like, right, this is the lesson, and I just imagine pushing through, here's the lesson, and oh my gosh, now I have to make dinner, and now I have to make sure you get sport, and I have to make sure that is perfect. That I had never it's more that insight that that's actually true. So it was life. It wasn't part of life, it was life.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And we were working as a team, right? This is a team effort. And yes, okay, my skills were a little more than theirs due to my extensive, I've been on the earth a little longer, right? But they also, as we grew and had conversations together, they also had insights and knowledge, of course, from their own intuition and their own knowing that I didn't have. So it's very eye-opening as well. It's like, oh, and then they would like, Mom, you're saying this, it's not really incongruence with, like, just because it maybe would be an old line or something. And they're like,
they're those great mirrors of our truths, aren't they? That you kind of go, oh, I don't want to see.
Exactly.
Let me have one day of being unconscious, right?
Exactly. So they're very good with that. Yes.
Super. Oh, what a great journey. What, like, tons of lessons there to just show. Well, actually, I was going to say, because it's not easy, but maybe the way you switched it actually did make it easy. It wasn't easy before. What do you think?
That is 100% true. It was not easy before, but once I started shifting things and understanding that, part of it was understanding the needs of my children as well, because I believe that they came in a little more aware than perhaps I did as a child as well. So just understanding their needs and all of that, what that entails, they needed a softer, more loving guide, right? So I had to become more soft and loving and with compassion and empathy and understanding, all of those wonderful traits that sometimes can get pushed to the wayside because we're so busy and focused on what it is we need to do instead of what it is that we desire to do.
True. Actually, I just, from when you sent me the text in regards to what we were sort of planning for today, and in my research, there's this lovely quote from Dr. Shafali, who I adore in this conscious parenting world. Anyway, so very similar to what you had said. It says, instead of seeing yourself as a mother per se, see yourself as a spiritual mentor. And for this to happen, first, you have to see your child as a spiritual being, which is something that you mentioned in the text, that became, you see them as a spiritual being as opposed to somebody you need to teach and you need to raise and you need to mold.
Yes.
And that's definitely been, I think, the way you've approached this.
Right. It has. When my daughter was 11, I think, we were butting heads a lot. And I didn't understand, and what the textbooks were telling me to do wasn't working. And my one girlfriend says, why don't you just go and have your Akashic records read? I'm like, I don't know how that's going to help, but I haven't done it yet, so let's try.
Okay. Open for anything, right?
Exactly. Who knows what's going to help sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we both did that, and we did it together. And in our session after the records were read, the woman was sharing a bit about our souls and what our souls needed, and why we were doing the things we were doing, why the struggle and that sort of thing. And I began to realize that, yes, okay, so this is how she is. This is why it is, and this is a good thing. So I learned how to work with that as opposed to powering against it. Right? I'm the mother, you have to listen to me, right?
Yes. Which sometimes that creeps in, and then you sort of go, well, hang on a second. What do I know? I've never parented an 11-year-old before, this particular 11-year-old girl before, right, in my life.
Exactly. So that definitely began to soften things for us, and understanding. She also said, which was really amazing, that we choose our parents, because my daughter was very angry with me for whatever reason, who knows, right? And she said, well, you choose your parents for a reason. So when she took the onus off of me, that it's my fault that I had this child at such a young age, and it put the onus on her of, okay, why did I choose this mother? Like, what can I learn from this mother? It changed the dynamics. It was amazing. It was so amazing.
Yeah, so. 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Really lovely.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing all of this. This is really inspiring, that your 3 children are coming from that conscious place as they go out into the world, and having that security and that space to be who they are.
Yes.
Is one of the most empowering things I think we can offer.
Yes, exactly. And that's what they say, that my children have actually told me, because sometimes they encounter other parents who maybe are not as aware,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Mom, she's doing this or doing that." I'm like, "Well, she just doesn't know what she doesn't know."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Well, thank you for being you, basically, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for becoming aware."
And I think the lessons they learn too along the way is just that you weren't willing to settle. You weren't willing to give up on yourself. We're not
That's
talking
right.
children, right? That you're saying, okay, and being such a young mom to start with, to
Mhm.
already sort of begin on that path,
Yeah.
switching things up and changing, and like you say, digging deep for your stuff, for you.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. They have been my greatest teachers, greatest teachers.
Amen
It's
to
been
that.
amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so very much. It's been
You're
lovely
welcome.
talking to you. So maybe just briefly, if you can tell us a little bit how people can reach you and what it is you do in your conscious way out in the world, that'll be great.
Okay. Um, the main thing I do is help people get to the root of the matter. So going deep within themselves to finding those gems, those special parts of themselves, so that they can take that out into the world and come from heart and soul, because I believe love spreads love. I mean, I think that a lot of us get a little hurt and bumped along the way, start closing off our heart, and I just, coming from heart and soul is definitely a lot easier. Scary sometimes, but a lot easier.
Great.
uh,
And you were just in the corporate world for this, or also private coaching? What's your
a private coaching as well,
okay?
both.
Well,
So
super. So
yeah.
we can reach you at, was it www.marietindall.com? Is it com?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Got that from memory. I had it written down somewhere. Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much. I'll stop our recording now. It's been lovely to chat with you.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.